Hi, seniors. What's up? All right, we're talking about the assassination of John F. Kennedy today, and this happens on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, downtown. And I'm sorry we can't go to the book depository as a field trip. I really am sorry about that. I'll go with you this summer if you want to go. Okay. Look, here's the thing. So Kennedy's going to Dallas to unite the Democrat Party, which is divided between those who support his civil rights bill and those who don't, the segregationists in the South. And Kennedy is annoyed that he has to go down to Dallas because his vice president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, was supposed to pacify the southern wing of the party to get them to remain on board with Kennedy and not to challenge him as the presidential candidate or oppose him. And so Lyndon Baines Johnson has clearly failed to do this. And Lyndon Baines Johnson is telling Kennedy, look, you're going to have to go down to Dallas yourself. You're going to go down to Texas and speak to Southern Democrats yourself. And Kennedy does not want to go. Okay? He refers to the South as the place where the nut people live. Okay? He doesn't have a lot of respect for the Southern Democrats. Okay? But he's thinking about that campaign of 1964. He wants to get reelected, so he's going to go and he's going to try to talk to the Southern Democrats. Okay? And another indication here that we're dealing with very much a political trip, thinking about the campaign, is that he takes Jackie with him. This is the first time Jackie's gone on a political trip since 1960 in the first election campaign. Okay? So they're going down to Dallas together. And keep in mind that, again, the reason he's going down there is in the context of the civil rights movement and the split within the Democrat Party, okay? But the killing of Kennedy itself is within the context of the Cold War because the killer is a Marxist terrorist, right? Not a white supremacist, a Marxist terrorist. All right, so keep in mind that Cold War context is the main thing for the assassination, all right? All right, now Kennedy is somebody who is, expecting opposition in Dallas. Okay, when he arrives by Air Force One, I think at Love Field on November 22nd, 1963, the newspaper headlines are criticizing him for not taking out Castro. Okay, and he's expecting that, and he's someone who's been thinking about all the opposition that exists to him, both on the conservative side and on the Marxist communist side. And he's been thinking about, not infrequently, the possibility of assassination. But he doesn't ever really do anything to prepare for that or protect himself for that. And that's the case on November 22nd. So he gets in an open convertible for a 10-mile motorcade trip through the city. And sitting beside him is Jackie, his wife. And sitting in front of them is the governor of Texas, John Connolly, and John's wife, Nellie. And then in front of them is the driver. So you got the driver, the governor's wife, and then in the back, Kennedy and Jackie. Okay. So, they're driving through the city. As they come through downtown and they go past the book depository, which most of you know is like 6-7 story tall large brick building, these shots ring out, okay? And the governor is injured. Kennedy is struck twice, or by 2 bullets, one in the neck and one in the head. The blood explodes everywhere, all over Jackie. She's panicking. She's horrified. She's trying to jump out of the moving car. They stabilize Jackie. The Secret Service is leaping in, trying to help her. The car itself speeds off to the hospital, Parkland Hospital, and John F. Kennedy is pronounced dead at 1 p.m. on November 22nd, 1963. They could not save him. 1.5 hours later, Lee Harvey Oswald is arrested. Lee Harvey Oswald had been accosted on the streets outside of the book depository by a police officer, J.D. Tippett, who was questioning him about the assassination and his whereabouts and all this. Harvey Oswald shoots the police officer, runs away, gets arrested an hour and a half after the president is killed. Okay, and then 9 hours later is charged with the murder of the president. And this is already after Jackie and Lyndon Baines Johnson have gotten on Air Force One, are flying back to Washington, and Lyndon Baines Johnson has already taken the oath of office while on the plane of Air Force One. So you got a new president, and by the end of the day, murder charges against Lee Harvey Oswald for the killing of John F. Kennedy. Okay? All right. Now, 2 days later, November 24th, Lee Harvey Oswald is being transferred from one facility to another. There's a large crowd that has gathered to watch Harvey Oswald move from one place to another. I mean, at this point, he's like the most infamous person in America. So people want to see him. There's lots of reporters taking pictures, capturing it on video. Well, this guy emerges from the crowd. He's got a pistol hidden in like his coat sleeve, and he shoots Lee Harvey Oswald and kills him. This guy is Jack Ruby. He is a strip club owner, and he is this guy that has this shadowy ties probably to the mafia, okay? And so you have, just to recap here, on November 22nd, Kennedy killed in the motorcade, shot in the motorcade about 12:30, dead by 1 p.m. That night, Lee Harvey Oswald, charged with the murder. He got apprehended because he had killed a police officer, right? But so you've had then Lee Harvey Oswald, of course, charged with the murder of Tippit, but also with the murder of Kennedy by the end of the day, November 22nd. And then 2 days later, Lee Harvey Oswald killed by Jack Ruby. Okay? All right. Well, Jack Ruby claims that he was so grief-stricken by Kennedy's death that he had to go and kill Harvey Oswald. Okay? And people are kind of like, really? That's okay. Well, immediately there's speculation about a wider conspiracy. So left-wing people want to say, look, this is a mob conspiracy. Ruby clearly has some kind of mafia ties. Harvey Oswald probably had some shadowy mafia ties. And really what happened was that the mob was upset because Kennedy had not gone in and taken out Castro. And they were upset because Castro shut down their casinos where they were making a lot of money in Cuba. Okay, so so they want to take out Kennedy. Okay, and so they had hired Harvey Oswald to do that. And then Ruby had to come in and kill Oswald to silence him, to protect the mob. Okay, that was the left-wingers' conspiracy theory. The majority of people are thinking, well, this is some kind of Soviet sting operation. Why? Because Harvey Oswald is a professed Marxist. He's lived in the Soviet Union, and he has been trying to raise support for Castro for a while now. Okay, all of that was true. Lee Harvey Oswald, besides being an emotionally unstable person, is also a Marxist. Lived in the Soviet Union, was very unhappy there, tried to commit suicide, at least cut his wrists. The Soviets were like, this guy's crazy. They were keeping an eye on him. Harvey Oswald comes back to Dallas. He goes down to New Orleans for a little while to try to promote Castro. Fails to do that. First of all, the other thing is, Harvey's young. He's like 24 years old, just to keep in mind when all this happens, the assassination and everything. So he'd been down in New Orleans. So by the time he's 24, he was a Marine, he'd been in the Soviet Union. And then he was down in New Orleans trying to promote Castro, right? Okay. He goes back to Dallas from New Orleans after failing to promote Castro. Nobody was interested in New Orleans. In Dallas again, he tries to assassinate a conservative general, okay? And so he was well known to the police. He was known to the FBI. The FBI had a file on him, but the FBI was clearly not monitoring him very well, okay? And he is, again, a professed Marxist. All right, so look, whatever the conspiracy theories, whether they're true or not, this is the way to think about the assassination. First of all, yeah, Harvey Oswald is emotionally unstable. That's obvious. But that's not the end of the story, right? This murder is a political murder. It is a act of political terrorism, right? Lee Harvey Oswald, even though he's emotionally unstable, is also a Marxist terrorist, okay? That's the way to think about it. So, why? Okay, well, think of it like this. There is, in his mind, right, whether or not he has been told and had contact with a KGB agent and told to go and kill Kennedy, or been contacted by Castro and told to kill Kennedy, whether or not that happened, I don't know, whether or not that happened, in his mind, Castro wanted Kennedy dead. He'd been reading these newspapers in New Orleans about that, whatever, and he comes back, he's thinking about this. Well, in his mind, he's doing something on behalf of the Marxist cause and all, like, that's really what's going on. It's a political murder, act of political Marxist terrorism, okay? All right. Now, the speculations about what was really happening, whether Lee Harvey Oswald had acted alone in killing Kennedy, they don't go away, right? In the months after the death. America is so traumatized, but also so, like, just shocked and confused and can't believe that their president could be killed by just this one guy. And so Lyndon Baines Johnson wants to shut down the speculation. Why? Because he wants, first of all, if, as most people think, if there actually is some kind of Soviet connection, he doesn't really want that, obviously, but he also doesn't want people. He doesn't want people to demand that he do something to retaliate against the Soviets. So he wants this speculation to go away. So he appoints this commission of people to get together and investigate Kennedy's murder. And what LBJ wants, Lyndon Baines Johnson wants of it, is he wants them to basically say the whole thing was just Lee Harvey Oswald and resolve it. Okay? Well, so that commission is headed, that investigative commission is headed up by Earl Warren, the Supreme Court Justice, who gave us a lot of the desegregation rulings in the 1950s. And so the commission itself becomes known as the Warren Commission because it's under his leadership, okay? So in the next bit of lecture, we're going to look at this investigation into Kennedy's murder by the Warren Commission.